Happy Friday, everybody. I hope you had a great week. This is your weekly planning video. Today is Friday, September 17th, 2021, and it is my oldest son, Micah's birthday. Happy birthday, Micah. Let's jump right into some ideas, some topics. I want to discuss two timely planning topics with you today. The first is for those who are looking at required minimum distribution. If you're in the ages of 70, 72, let's talk about this, pay attention. But if you're not in that age, please pay attention anyway. Stick around towards the end of the video. I have something for everybody. The first thing, as I said, I want to jump right into is about required minimum distribution. Since last year, only for those age 72 and older need to take required distribution. But if you're close or you're already there, listen up. For nearly 40 years, the required minimum distribution age was age 70 and a half, which of course prompted lots of questions as why a half? Same thing with the 59 and a half, which is when you no longer have penalties coming out of your IRA, but that's for another day. Now, less than 2 years after they changed that, they're talking about changing it again. We've talked about it on these videos many, many times. Secure Act 2.0 is talking about raising that RMD age many times over the next couple of years and decades. So, but you may think that that's always a good thing. Delay the RMD as long as possible. And in many cases it is. And we'll talk about that in the planning that we do over and over again. But with almost anything, especially to do with taxes, there could be a downside also. I want to touch on that just for a moment. Now remember, we don't give specific tax advice. We're very happy to talk to your tax advisors and see if this works for you. But here we go. The same reason why it is better to get a longer time to have your money grow tax deferred is the same reason why you may end up with a double-edged sword on this one. So of course, by design, the longer the money can stay in the IRA, the larger that IRA will be. That means though, that when it is time for the RMD to start coming out, the withdrawal that you take out may be larger. Now, of course, remember that income comes out as ordinary income. So remember, the larger that number is, the larger the tax. Now, we also risk ballooning that IRA balance. Now, we actually strive to have this problem, right? Just bigger IRAs, but that does go to the law that passed a couple of years ago also that took away the stretch IRA that allowed your heirs to stretch that out over their lifetime. Now your IRA has to be distributed to your heirs within a 10-year period. And that means, again, larger IRA, larger tax hit for your heirs. So now all this may not bother you, as you may look at it as a necessary outcome of growing your assets. But remember, there are planning techniques that we can use to manage these taxes, such as qualified charitable distributions we've talked about, as well as Roth conversions. Just about the idea of planning these taxes is how we do it. So let's make sure we keep these conversations going. Just remember, delays to the RMD are not all one-sided. Like all of this, goals may change the planning, so let's keep the discussions going. One other item that's really for everybody. It's more of a revisit to something we've talked about over and over again over the last couple of weeks. As we go into the fourth quarter soon, it's time to start thinking about the tax situation, what our tax situation looks like. That is primarily for taxable investment accounts for sure, but overall where your tax situation is. For the taxable accounts, let's review three main topics. Number one, what are your realized gains and losses to date? In other words, what trading have you done or transactions have you done so far this year that have brought your capital gains and losses in certain places? And does it require us to come in and offset those, either with gains or with losses? So again, that's going to work on managing those tax liabilities better. Number two, mutual fund capital gains, or a little bit less common, ETF capital gains distributions. Within the next couple of weeks, most of the mutual fund and ETF companies will be coming out with their estimates for the capital gains distributions for the year. Hopefully there'll be a special video coming up soon which gives you a lot more detail on that, but we'll need to manage those as those are going to be hitting your capital gains lines too. So third and finally, if 2021 and COVID had a negative effect on your income in any way, you may be in a lower tax bracket, and then maybe it's time we can make lemonade out of those lemons. And proper tax planning may say that we should recognize some of these capital gains or some income in 2021 when you're in a lower tax bracket. So let's review those plans and see what those look like. Okay, so more to come next week. The markets continue to be all over the place, and we're in a season for extra volatility. So watch for Monday's market video, and I'll try to get some special videos out in the next couple of weeks. One on capital gains, mutual fund capital gains topic, as I mentioned, and also one on the stagflation, reflation question, what's going on with that. So keep an eye out for those. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.